Crypto friends, we did not get the outcome that we wanted when it comes to the US infrastructure bill. However, I'm not worried. And for those of you that are not familiar with the situation, a quick summary. So added last minute to the $1 trillion infrastructure bill was a crypto proposal that would raise $30 billion in crypto taxes. And the way this would work is that the taxes would come by regulating brokers. And for the most part, not a problem. We would think brokers are exchanges such as Coinbase, Gemini, Kraken, and so on, which have no issues with this. They would gladly collect know your customer information from their customers and report it to the government or the IRS. But there was a problem with this bill. It didn't clarify what brokers mean. Does it include mining pools? Does it include staking nodes? Does it include software developers? So in order to clarify it, Senators Lummis, Wyden, and Toomey filed an amendment that would clarify what exactly a broker means. And the last week in crypto has been very stressful, back and forth, and it looked like we were making some progress. What we wanted was to make sure that brokers only applied to real brokers, right? Exchanges, and not to software developers, not to miners, stake pool operators. And it looked like we were making progress until today. Today was the final vote. For their amendment to be accepted, we would have to have a unanimous vote. Everyone would have to vote on it. If one person did not vote, it would be thrown out. And today, Senator Richard Shelby of Alabama has objected to the compromise amendment. And FYI, he's retiring at the end of this term, so it's not like we can vote him out. So today, as I make this video, technically, we lost, but it is not over. And by the way, the reason why this is bad is because when it comes to software developers, mining operators, node operators, it's not that they don't want to comply and collect this information from customers. It's not possible. They're not able to. So they would either have to leave the country or they would have to remain here in the United States if this passes as is, and they would be operating basically illegally. So Jerry Brito, who's been on top of this case, I definitely would recommend you follow him on Twitter, stated the bad news is that the amendment did not receive unanimous consent, so it will not make it into the bill. The good news is we're not giving up. Next stop is the House, where we can try to get a whole new amendment from scratch that can address all our concerns. Because even if this passes as is, it will not go into effect until 2023, giving brokers, whatever a broker means, time to adjust to the requirements. So a little more than a year from now. And I do want to say, by the way, that all of you watching, or most of you, you did make a difference by calling, by tweeting, by sending emails, because this bill was supposed to go through last week. But the crypto community came together, a crypto army, and we delayed this bill. People in Washington were confused. Why is this being delayed? It is because of us, the crypto army. And Caitlin Long tweeted, I think the boomers in power in DC thought they could pull a fast one on millennials, but they had no idea how much power this community of cyber hornets has when we decide to use it. So we tried. We were maybe close, but we didn't get there, but it is not over yet. And when it comes to these types of situations, I'm very optimistic on the future of crypto, but I also don't want to be naive. So whenever I see these types of situations, I think of the worst case scenario. So the first thing is, you know the saying, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. I think many people thought this year that we won already, especially with the innovation and the prices going up. But I've said it for months now, we are just entering the fighting stage. The fighting will not stop. Crypto, decentralization, DeFi is a major threat to banks and governments, a threat that we have never seen before. This is the first time we're seeing a shift of power from governments to the people. So even if we are able to overturn this and we win, it will only be for a certain amount of time until they come back and attacking. The attacking will not stop. And the most important thing right now is time. It is extremely important. I will explain to you why. So let's say we are not able to overturn this worst case scenario. These laws will go into effect 2023. And when that time arrives, many people will have to migrate overseas, software developers, mining operators, node operators. But practically speaking, not everyone will leave. So innovation will continue. It just won't happen in the United States. But it is also likely, even worst case scenario, that innovation would slow down. Not stop, but slow down, because if we think about it practically, Not everyone living in the United States, software developers, node operators, will pick up and leave. Some of them have families here, their whole life is here. So instead of leaving, they'll just give it up entirely. But of course, there will be those that do migrate. And I promise you, there are a lot of countries that are willing to accept people in the crypto space. So innovation will continue, but even worst case scenario, it will slow down. So not stop, but slow down. And this year that we have right now, it's so important. 2023, a little more than 1 year from now. And the reason it is so important is because in crypto, it is a battle of time versus regulation. The quicker that regulation arrives, the less time there is for a project to grow and become decentralized. That is the key. Decentralization is the key. The only projects that will make it out of regulation are decentralized projects, because I'm promising you something right now. This regulation is not going away. Even if, best case, we can overturn this, we might buy some more time, but it will come back. Governments are not going to back down. This is a major threat to banks, a major threat to governments. So we're getting 1 year right now, and I believe the next year is going to be a massive year for crypto innovation. Not necessarily the price of crypto, who knows whether that goes up or down, but innovation, because we're starting to realize that right now, if the crackdowns happen today, not many projects would survive. Maybe Bitcoin would survive, maybe Ethereum would survive. And the benefit that Bitcoin has is that it was able to grow under the radar. And now regulations are coming, but they've already grown so big to the point that it's hard to shut Bitcoin down. We already saw what happened when China banned Bitcoin mining. Many thought that's the end of Bitcoin, but of course, Bitcoin survives. Ethereum as well, created in 2015. And I really want you to understand decentralization. At its core, decentralization means there are multiple people or nodes coming to an agreement from different areas of the world, geographically dispersed. And you need time to get to that point. If a project's only been out for half a year or 1 year, how is it possible that there are thousands and thousands of people running the software in multiple places in the world? It's just not possible. This is why Bitcoin has this advantage. And this is why I keep saying time is so important, because there's a lot of projects in the crypto space that have potential to change the world, but they need time to grow and decentralize. Otherwise, they will be crushed by regulation. So worst case scenario, we do not overturn this bill and we have a little more than 1 year to innovate. And during that time, I do believe we will see big innovations in this space towards decentralization. A key one I'm hoping for are decentralized interfaces. A good example is Uniswap. This year, they were forced to remove a few tokens from their interface, which is centralized. However, the backend, Uniswap, the protocol, is decentralized. But a problem in this space is many of these programs might be decentralized in the backend, but for them to actually be used, for everyday people to adopt them, it needs to be easy on the interface. But right now, most of the interfaces are centralized. So I do hope this is something we see over the next year. Even if this bill is overturned, these regulations will come back, and maybe we can look at this as a gift in disguise, right? Really pushing our backs against the wall, forcing us to innovate very fast. And whenever I'm feeling stressed or unsure, I always read quotes from Naval Ravikant. And he stated the inevitable endpoint of crypto is maximum decentralization and maximum privacy. And that's how it will end. Most projects will not survive for two reasons. The first reason is most projects just won't be adopted. I used to say that maybe 90% of projects will not be here in 20 years. But I think I'm going to increase it to about 95%, because I used to just think about adoption. But now I'm starting to think more about regulation. If you are not decentralized, you will not survive over the next 15 to 20 years. So we have, at least worst case scenario, 1 more year in the US. 2023 is when this would go into effect if it is not changed, for us to innovate. And then let's say we are not able to overturn it. Then we will see migration overseas. We probably will see a delay, but innovation will continue. But I do believe that it's not just going to be the United States. There will be other countries that follow. So it is very important to move very fast. Most of these projects will not be here in 20 years from now. Often you'll hear people say, well, this project is faster and cheaper than Bitcoin. That's great and all, but we always say the most important thing in this space is decentralization, because if you are not decentralized, you will get shut down by regulation. So that's why I'm not worried about this infrastructure bill, because even worst case scenario, innovation will continue. It just won't happen in the United States. And number two, the true projects of true decentralization will flourish. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.